Planning Commission to order. If you'll all stand, we'll do the pledge, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now let's have any discussion on minutes from the last
We
meeting.
need a roll call, probably.
Roll call.
Thought I was going to get away.
what I
Paul
meant.
Grossman, Michelle Doyle,
Present.
Renee Hardy,
Present.
Kevin Jarvis,
Here.
Lee Nova,
Present.
Bob Thielecker,
Present.
Rick Morton,
Present.
Lisa Latham, Cordell Rowe,
Present.
Aaron Flynn.
We have a quorum. So now,
Did Lisa say she was moving last time?
no.
Yes,
Okay,
Lisa is
yes.
moving, that's correct. So Lisa, I don't know if we've received her letter of resignation or not, or what the status of that is, so that's something that we'll
But she
have
did
to.
resign at the meeting, so.
Yeah.
She did.
Yeah.
She got her letter.
All right, minutes from the last meeting and attendance record.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved. Minutes and attendance record. Any previous public hearings? None. Unfinished business? No unfinished business. So the new business is the Pineapple Farms Living rezoning request, and take it away. Ms. Alex.
Good evening. So what you have before you is 0.65 acres that the applicant is looking to rezone from R2, single-family residential, to R3, which will allow them to expand their current use next door. They currently have an assisted living facility on a piece of property that adjoins this that's already R3. That allows them to do their assisted living business. So what this will do since then is the applicant has purchased that property and wants to rezone it to R3 to make all of it consistent, and that way he can expand his assisted living facility.
Is there anyone here to speak for the Pineapple Farms LLC?
We have the applicant and owner, and I believe we also have some concerned citizens.
I understand. If you want to speak, please fill out a request to speak card, okay? If you'd like to call them up.
Skip and Liz Sluder, sorry.
And please state your name and where you live, please.
My name is Claude Sluter, and this is my wife, Liz. We live at 985 Miracle Way, and I believe the Fairway
Estates.
Edition. While we understand the emphasis of the request, we would really prefer to see the neighborhood stay single-family units, and would like to defend single-family dwellings within the neighborhood. I realize it is a mixed neighborhood, and there's a reason to want to expand the Pineapple Assisted Living, but we're concerned about the traffic, the more people, the more cars, especially near a school and near our neighborhood and along a very busy street that's already quite high in volume of traffic, and concerned with what our property values will be once this is in place, and literally changes how I view my window, out my front window and front porch. So we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Do we have any information on what they plan to build there?
Well, we have been in basic conceptual talks about their vision for the expansion, and it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they want to they basically have like a 3 and 5 year plan. So this is step one, is to get it rezoned, and then once they know that they have the rezoning, then they'll move forward with their vision for the conceptual plan review.
Any comments
How
or
many,
questions?
how many units are we looking at here?
So assisted living facilities are allowed to be 25 units per acre. And they have, with the 0.65, I believe it brings them roughly to almost 3 acres. Is that correct, Adam? 1 point. Okay, half that. Okay, so I guess that would be, if it's 2 acres.
Roughly in the 36 range.
Yeah, but he's going to have to do stormwater retention. He's going to have to do all sorts of different
Parking.
standards that are probably going to limit him, honestly, and especially if he's going to work with the existing building that's already there. But that would definitely be something that would be brought back before you because of the unit count.
How many units are in there now?
I believe that there is 14.
Close.
And of those 14, do you have cars? Do you have people with cars still
Here,
there?
Adam, why don't you come up and talk for a second? Adam is the property owner, and he is a very go-getter. We'll get you the card.
Hey guys, my name's Adam. Do you want the card? I can grab it.
Adam, we need your full name for the record, please, and
My name's
address.
Adam Warner. I'm the owner of Pineapple Garden, and my wife Michelle and I own it together. She's a nurse. She's also my boss, and so right now we have 14 residents. We have all private rooms except for one. My wife and I actually didn't plan to operate it. We built the property out for a lady, and she ran it for about a year and handed the keys back to us. And being a real estate investor, I take my credit and our reputation very seriously. We thought maybe someday down the road we would get more involved, but we took it over in February 2016, and there was about 6 residents there, and we filled it and had been really blessed to have the residents and the staff that we do. The traffic count, although I fully respect your opinion on it, compared to what it was prior, it was the ye old schoolhouse. In fact, it's down so much now that people use my driveway, which will end soon, as a roundabout past that stop sign. Other than our staff, which is 2 to 3 cars, we have 7 spots. We might have 1 to 2 additional cars at any given time for the resident's family coming to visit, and a nurse practitioner. But the traffic count compared to when it was a previously zoned, which was a daycare, is a fraction. In fact, we take a lot of pride in clearing up the traffic disaster that was there. And if we're able to combine both properties, my vision and goal is that you could still pull in on the south side right before the stop light for St. Andrews. And then we'll try, but I don't see them maybe giving us the thumbs up, talking to FPL, not FPL, but FDOT about getting a stoplight facing us. It's a long shot, but at the very least that they could go to the north end of the property to pull back out. So, and even from a noise, the ladies that we have there are very quiet. They don't cause a lot of ruckus. And I can tell you, because I purchased the property from the lady that used to manage, we not only cleaned up the assisted living facility, which was a mess of a daycare, just from the grounds and the appearance. It was a bit of an eyesore. I don't know if you guys remember it, but also the single family. And in the back of that property, there's a duplex that, Lord willing, once it's all over, will probably end up in the bottom of a dumpster. But the tenants and the residents that use it as a single family, we also own a property management business, and I'm very selective of who we rent to. But what we came into and what we have now are very different. And if I was to ever sell the property and it was to say single family, although I really respect your opinion and what you're saying, the size of the units and the price points that they are going to bring back tenants that are not people that you want as neighbors. In fact, one of the reasons that I'm pushing this hard for this switch is that when you have a property line and you own both of the properties, I've told my tenants, even though I wouldn't be able to do this, if my ladies see you and realize that someone's there, we're going to have issues, because I've had tenants there that are just not desirable people, and that's what you get when you have 1 bedroom, 1 bath, lower end tenants. They just do not mix well. So I'd rather take the entire property, make it all sweet little old ladies, and a couple males, but sweet little old ladies and staff that aren't going to be ruckus, because whether you realize it or not, I've evicted 2 or 3 drug dealers out of the place, though, before it was a nightmare. So that's my pitch.
On the east side of that property right now, on the current building that's there, so that'd be the side closest to Gulf Street.
Yeah.
What do you have for buffer between those homes and your building, as far as camouflaging?
Yeah, right now there's a huge, beautiful oak tree. But I think if we were to do anything, really, if we do anything in the future that you guys would approve, it would instantly trigger us having to do a very large 6 or 8 foot vinyl PVC fence.
That's correct. So anytime you have, here, if you want to fill this up. Anytime you have separation from single family and multifamily, or a transition into commercial, it is required that you have that buffer, be it a masonry wall or a 6 foot vinyl fencing. And that would be part of what would go through the site plan approval process, is to show us that and how it's going to be installed to keep that separation.
So that fence would have to go up along the houses, the backside on Miracle Way,
That's
between
correct.
those 2 properties?
That's correct.
So the piece of property now, what are we looking at? What could be there? How many houses? I'm sorry.
What's the anticipation? Yeah.
If it was not switched.
If it was
at the
not switched.
Currently.
So R2 allows for 5 houses per acre, so it's 0.65. So roughly like 3.
3.
Yeah.
And you're looking at putting in how many in there?
My understanding, and of course I have not had any formal plans submitted yet, but my understanding is that he is going to expand the existing building to the north. And so the units would all be contained into that structure.
So the final
Right.
plan is
Courtyard.
how many, what is your final expectation for dwellings per unit acre?
I don't know how that works, because if you guys approved it, even though in the short term we'd probably utilize them as single family houses, eventually they wouldn't be able to mix. So it would just become the whole property would become part of the assisted living facility. When we purchased the property, I knew that money was going to be tight, so we didn't do any expansion to the existing footprint of the building. So we've squeezed per state, regulations and whatnot. We've fit everybody, crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, but we've fit 14 residents in a 2,800 square foot building. So storage and stuff like that is already overflowing into sheds, and I'd just rather have a nice, clean building. So,
And what percent, you were saying there's 14 units in there. Do any of those people drive in and out?
we had one lady that drove, and she was a little bit too independent. I don't come from money. My wife and I have worked hard for everything that we have, and I wanted a place that my mom and dad could afford, and we approached it just as going to be another rental for ourselves. So when I had a lady that was leasing it, I said, I don't want bread and butter. I can't compete with Palm Cottages or La Casa. I mean, I joke with my wife that we need to start saving now. We're not going to be able to afford to stay in our own place because it's so expensive. So our price point is just right at at about $3,000. We don't get some of the people that are more independent that go and shop and they're blown away by the places like Sonata on US 1. I mean, that's nicer than a lot of the hotels that we've stayed at. And we try to stay away from the lower end. So we don't have a lot of bells and whistles. And what that means is that when people come to us, they're not as independent as maybe they thought they would be. So just from our price point, it ends up being that they're not nursing home, they're not hospice yet, but they're
Close.
They're close. And so no, we have 14 residents, and over 2 years now that we've basically run it, we've had one resident that drives. So the cars in our parking lot are our staff and residents' family that come and visit, or a nurse practitioner that comes and.
So you don't foresee a lot of traffic in and out from the people living there? It's just going to be from the staff?
Yeah, it'll just be the service and the staff. And, weekly we get our paper goods and stuff like that.
Deliveries. Yeah.
So I know we're trying to rezone here, but there seems like you have to have some kind of goal in mind. Do you want 30 residents to be in there? Or are you trying to shoot for 20? I think 37 is what we said is about the max that you could put in there.
Yeah, I think they're different things, and I need to do a lot better job of researching that. But because we're at a point where we're developing a waiting list and we know that what we have is viable, I need to just combine the whole property for tax reasons. There's a lot of different things that go into that. But Ron, my architect, that'll be part of kind of phase 2. Phase 1, we hired Ron about 6 months ago to start poking at this, was just get it rezoned. And then phase 2 is what we can fit on the property, parking requirements, retention. I mean, that stuff alone is
I'm assuming there's a
expensive
certain
to
amount of money
figure
that
out.
you don't want to put into it, continually put into it, unless you know for sure that you're going to be able to do that. Is that why the site plan isn't done per se?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense to put out a whole lot of money to have one made if it
I mean,
goes for nothing.
Don't know. I think it was a couple $1,000s just to get to here. So I wasn't going to spend more than that to find out what we couldn't do.
So I'm assuming we're working under the assumption of what the max it could be, and then go from there. Does that make? Go ahead.
Kevin?
I've got a number of questions here, so please bear with me. And these are probably more for Alex and the rest of the committee than anything else. I went to the comprehensive management plan specifically for Planning District 4, which this is for.
That's correct.
And it says the area objective, and I'm going to read it right out of it, says, is to maintain and improve this area as a low and medium density residential area and ensure that future development will not substantially alter or depreciate the existing character of the area. The future land use map for this particular site is R2, not R3. Right now, it's zoned for R3. The future plan shows it as R2.
Well, there's the zoning map and the future land use.
Yeah, I'm saying the zoning map right now is
R2.
R2.
That's correct.
The future land use map shows it still as R2. It doesn't show it as R3. But so let me continue then. It also says here the type of land use, and it says development within the district will be limited primarily to single-family detached dwellings and directly related land use such as parks, schools, blah, 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 blah. And it says to be considered as R1 and R2. Limited commercial, professional, multi-residential uses will be based on severe compatibility and consistency tests. And I don't know what that constitutes, that test.
Right.
But I'm looking at what we're looking to do here, and we're trying to go from R2, single-family residence, to R3, multiple family, high density. And it sounds like, from what I'm reading where we want to go and what the intent is of R4, we shouldn't be rezoning this particular plot of land because it seems to be inconsistent with it. And it says right here, maximum density allowed shall not exceed 5 dwelling units per acre. And that's a requirement. So I don't know how we get past some of those things.
Okay, so there's two things. There's the comprehensive plan, and that's got medium-density residential as a classification. You're not going to have any Rs associated with that at all. Okay, so
Right.
the future land use is going to be like a medium-density residential.
Correct. That's what it's for.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
So as far as the zoning classification, that's different, and that is based on the reason R3, the R3 zoning classification allows for assisted living facilities. And that's where that comes in. The way the code is written for older adult living facilities, which you guys approved in the past year, says that in order to do an assisted living facility, you have to have an R3 classification. So in order for him to expand his existing facility into this piece of land next door, he has to go into R3, which is why it's before you tonight.
And my question is, at least everything I've read for this specific District 4, we shouldn't be doing that. I mean, it says here, it's supposed to be low and medium density and, specifically shooting for R1, R2. So single-family detached, which doesn't appear like what we're trying to do here. So I just raise it because I'm trying to make sure that if we're going to promote something to the city council, it's consistent with the comprehensive management plan, and it seems to me, at least by what I read, this isn't consistent with the comprehensive management plan. So I just put that out to the board for your evaluations.
But I think, as Alex pointed out, the OALF that we've looked at before, because of the way that is R3, that would enable us to approve such a measure or to request to forward such a measure under the R3 zoning with OALF.
That's correct.
The only part in the comprehensive management plan where I saw us have some latitude is to the west of Fisk, not to the east of Fisk. To the east of Fisk in District 4 is supposed to be single-family resident, unless we're doing this assisted living thing. And that must have happened before my watch, I don't know. But I'm just saying, I'm reading it now, and I don't see a lot of latitude where we have maneuverability to do this stuff. So I just want to make sure we're all aware of what the comprehensive management plan requires.
I think that's almost moot, because when we changed the zoning for the existing plan, we overrode that plan already.
Right.
And you.
We set a precedent there.
Right, and I will remind you that this board also did the special exception, how many years ago was that? 2, 3 years ago?
3 years ago?
3, I think.
2013. So you've already done the special exception for the existing site. So now he is just trying to expand this great use.
Okay, well,
And
that
I
was
think
before my watch. I didn't know.
Okay.
And I'm
That
thinking-
was going to be my next question, is how did we get here in the first place? Because it seemed like that doesn't comply.
Yeah, we done.
I think
special
in your case, if it wasn't adjoining property to existing, it would be a different ballgame. But it's adjoining property, same owner, he just wants to expand.
And I also think he's right. Having lived here a long time, I did see what the schoolhouse looked like before and how many cars
Oh,
and
yeah,
traffic.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it
no
has
doubt.
made a big difference. It actually has cleaned up that little area, especially by a school. I think you're going to end up with a better area for kids that are walking back and forth with an assisted living, as opposed to maybe some homes that may be attractive to some different clientele that might not be the best.
Undesirable,
Right.
Well, I mean, I'm
that
just,
means Republicans.
when you let things go down, sometimes it's hard to keep kids safe.
Any further discussion? Is there any motions? No motions?
So this property is empty right now?
It currently has 2 rental dwellings. in it.
Bedroom? Is that what you were talking about, the one-bedroom ones? Okay.
It's a duplex and then
And so your plan would be to get rid of those
actually,
or to incorporate those? What's the,
I'm a little bit of a sucker. Ron will attest to this because I love spending money saving old stuff. The front building is cute as a button. Somebody drove by when we were kind of putting the touch paint on it, and they had a picture that was shot from over the golf course, and it was nothing but cow pasture. So the golf course, cow pasture, and then that little house in the front of it, and nothing else. So we've saved that little house and are currently using it as storage, but it's a really nice little storage unit. And if Ron will let me, he'll turn up a nose at this, but I'd like to incorporate that old building. It was probably built in the 20s, and one of the first buildings in Rockledge, if I had to guess, into some type of office or like just a feel of it. We're not a really big guy, we're not a really small guy, so we're kind of small and eclectic, and I feel like our residents really like that. So I would prefer to at least save the front little house. It's lap siding, or I'd had to lose the original floors, but it's really cool. So.
and then the other building you plan on?
The other building is less cool. There's been some tenants back there for a long time.
But
so
I mean, are you looking at demolishing it or incorporating it?
it just depends on kind of what the phase 2 comes out as. I'd have to default to Ron. There's such a large, I don't know the answer to that. I couldn't commit to it until I looked at it both ways financially. But I have yet to, in our development side, bulldoze a building. In fact, truth be told, I should have bulldozed Ye Old Schoolhouse day one, but I didn't Didn't realize how much it would cost to save, so we're into it now. We're still saving it.
Any other discussion? No more discussion and no motions?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the rezoning Pineapple Farms Living ZDA 17-02 from R2 to R3.
I have a motion to approve rezoning.
I'll second.
I have a second. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
2 opposed. And the rest are aye. Motion is passed to be forwarded on to the city council. Any additional business?
I would just like to remind you guys to make sure that you are prepared and have your plan for the impending weather coming up, and that you guys stay safe. And
Oh, is there something coming?
yes.
I apologize.
50 push-ups. No,
Death sentence?
No, don't
Death
do-
sentence
no,
for
don't
being
do that.
late
We don't wanna-
one time
we don't
in
wanna call
20
EMT.
years?
We're docking your pay, that's it.
That's okay. That I can accept.
Okay, with there being no more business before the planning commission, I hereby adjourn.
That's probably